Yeah, I would say is like patterns and just overall behavior being like very feeling unsafe and having to control a lot of things is like when we grasp into that self, um, not being okay with how things are, and just trying to cling and cling and cling and change things in this present moment, just constantly trying to change. So we think of like past or future, and you're just like kind of swindling between that when you're trying to change things instead of actually just seeing how things are. So that's one thing I noticed.
Even not really looking at it from this perspective, because this is very meta already if you're explaining it this way. But if you're in it, you're really like swinging through all those different little parts of it. Looking from the inside, it's a different animal. Finding this perspective in this particular moment, taking it into action.
I see it as like, have you ever jumped waves in the sea? I see it as like that. Like some waves you can jump, some waves you just like get smashed by, and that's like how things are in reality. Like the waves you can see coming, you're gonna jump over them. The waves you're not looking for, they're gonna hit you at the back of the head, and you're just gonna go under the water for a bit and then just pop out. So that's how I see even things as in the moment. They're just like constantly coming in and out, coming in and out, cycling back and forth. And sometimes I will not see that wave coming and I will react to it and just get smashed in the head. But sometimes I'll see like from miles away, I'll see that one wave is coming my way and just loop over it.
Is it more like is it more still like a very complex thing for you, or is it like you can see, okay, there is this lingering stuff, like I remember. Hey man.
Hello. Hey.
Well,
thank you.
We were talking about this whole what is lingering in our mind, and if we were able to see it and not to see it stuff, especially with Carl talking about visiting his parents and having the experience of really getting in the mix of all those feelings and thoughts together with this. And I wanted to say something about the seed stuff from, I don't remember his name, the very famous Vietnamese monk.
The one who passed recently?
Yes.
I cannot say his name. Tai Chin something.
Thich Nhat Hanh. I just couldn't
yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's talking about those seeds you're either watering or not, and this is how it is. And if you can see even the seeds that are not watered for so many years and years and years, almost died out or just inactive or something like this, good for you. I'm starting to see more and more and more. And as Dhammarato says, it's not that things get, let's say, subtler and subtler, just your capabilities growing more and more. And
it's like you get the metal detector, beep beep beep.
Yeah.
How are you doing? We haven't seen you before. I'm Carl, and this is Veda. And what shall we call you?
Yeah. I'm Jamie. I think it says James on my thing here. But either is fine. Yeah.
Where you from, James?
I'm from Nottingham, in the UK. And I've just recently started getting into kind of Dhammarato, watching the YouTube videos and stuff.
Have you given him a call yet?
I did give him a call. The problem is he's just finishing when I'm sort of waking up. So it's a slightly awkward time zone. And I guess I need to on the days when I am up early, I've got things to do. But yeah, I feel like
Sunday is a good time to catch him, but today he's feeling a bit ill. We catch him like more in a group setting and go over things, but yeah. So how's your practice as far as like, have you been, how's your practice?
I don't really, I used to have quite a lot of kind of formal practice and sitting. I used to sit like quite a lot, or at least like an hour a day, for quite a while. But recently, the past year or two, I haven't really done much of that. And even now, I'm kind of finding like I don't have a very strong impulse to go and sit down and actually sit and meditate. So I'm trying to do it while I'm I'm trying to gladden the mind while I'm doing other things, which is good. But I guess most of the things that I fill my time with are very I've noticed they seem to really absorb me into them. I'll be playing a video game or something, or I'll play a game of chess online, and you get really sucked into it, and then you're like, oh no, I lost! Ah! So yeah, my practice is sometimes waking up to things like that, and sometimes being like, I actually can let go of that.
Well, it sounds really good, actually. Yeah.
Getting to the cushion and staying on the cushion. Yeah, but the formal practice isn't even the main thing we're really experiencing with Dhammarato's teaching. It's about really the right attitude of in all things. I mean, if you're sitting to, let's say, watch what's this most used example in this case, like watching a YouTube video or trying to meditate and saying, I want to watch this video. No, I want to meditate. I want to watch this video. Okay, then you're doing not really both things. So you can joyful watch this video and meditate at the same time. So just put the practice in everything you feel good with, and when you remember it, and then it develops.
As far as formal practice, as Veda said, we don't. I mean, it moves from there to what you're comfortable with. Even if you give a call to Dhammarato, he starts off people who just waking up in the morning and just doing 10 minutes, and then throughout day finding these isolated solitude moments where you just bring yourself back to the right now by gladdening the mind, by checking in on your breath. And as you explain, from moment to moment, you're experiencing it. Sometimes you come back to breath and you're like, why am I screaming at the video game? And that sounds exactly like what we're doing here. It's just building up more of a building it more often. I mean, me and Dana were talking about it as it becomes something as a skill, as a metal detector. You get a metal detector and you find things more and more in the present moment, how you're functioning, how you're seeing things, as you're managing to clear all that sand and really to get down into the levels of now by coming back to the breath, by being in a nice, comfortable place, by calming yourself down, bringing yourself into safety. And then you just look.
That's almost
I don't know how many videos you watch, but the main practice is ānāpānasati. How much you know about it?
Yeah, I feel like I've got a reasonable grasp on it now. I've probably listened to the calls with Luke up to 6 or 7, I think. So yeah, It feels very intuitive. It feels like, you know, I've got the idea of what you're meant to be doing. And it's a case of actually applying it consistently. I mean, it's funny actually, because most of the time in the evening before I go to bed, I'll be like, oh, you know, maybe tomorrow if I get up really early, you know, I can not that early, somewhat early, I can talk to Dhammarato. Maybe you know, there's some things I'd like to ask him about. And then in the morning I wake up and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to call him. I don't want to meditate. I just want to, like, you know, watch some YouTube videos. And it's very like different attitude from when I go to sleep and I'm like, yes, gonna do it. Let's get on it. When I wake up in the morning, it's all gone.
Sounds very familiar. I think I watched like videos for 3 to 4 months before I gave in a call as well, because I'm living in London, so I have like the same time zone as you. Mm-hmm. So you would have to wake up like 7 or 6 a.m. to really get into the phone call. But I think I talked to Dhammarato only twice, like just person to person. And what it does is it just clears your own views of where you are at your practice. The videos are super helpful. I think the most of the time for most people, the videos are just a great introduction into what we're actually doing. But when you're talking to him, he kind of sometimes manages to bring you into that state so you can see for yourself what the practice is really about, and you can get the fruits immediately. Some people can get it through the videos. A lot of times I was managing to get the fruits through the videos for many months, and then you kind of build up the courage and you put on your own wheels and you go without videos. You can go without the teacher, but the teacher is still there if you ever need him. Yeah, that's what I found from my personal experience. I think it will come to the time where you feel today is a good day to give a call. Like as you said, sometimes you'll think in the evening, but then when it happens, it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the videos are really good. It's like I find it kind of as a way of you know, transmitting Dhamma teachings. It's like the original suttas were always, you know, it's a discourse, it's a dialogue between two people. So to actually have, you know, we don't need to like memorize what was said anymore. We can just watch a video. It's a lot better.
Yes, suttas are pretty interesting when we see it in action.
Direct.
Bella, have you been reading a lot of suttas by yourself? I heard, right? You've been getting into it a lot.
Not only the suttas. I mean, I love Dhamma talks really very much, if I can say this like that, you know, loving something. It depends. I really use what is mostly beneficial at a certain moment, you know. If I can convey the whole system to do it, you know. That's it mostly. But one thing I can say is, and this is what I wanted to say before, is this what most people see as a duality between getting into seclusion and being in the world, because we talked about this a little bit a few minutes ago. And this thing with getting to the cushion, staying on the cushion, and all the difficulties that can be attached to all this. It's really, yeah, what leads you to less dukkha, what leads you to a satisfactoriness in this present moment. And sometimes really putting down, as Ajahn Brahm says, like putting down he says it like this, you know, how do you keep a glass of water really still? And most people just don't grasp the easiest thing. You just put it down. because we're so used to fitch with all the things, and sometimes to really get a better taste of the teaching, you can put everything down and just wait and let things unfold. And if you get over this first hump of, I have to do something, this is not good, I'm feeling weird, and this is awkward, and things like this, things start to clear up from the inside out. And that's a very new experience. And that's the experience you have to do over and over again, because you mostly immediately forget it after you do something again. In the first whatever time period your brain needs to adapt to that.
So each moment is for us to wake up. It's when we remember to wake up and look, then we can find and see what we're actually doing, which is investigating into. And then we can come back to our breath and really tune into that and calm the mind down by gliding in it, by putting something we actually really enjoy to hear, or really congratulate ourselves for seeing how things are. And from there, we can really get into the work. Once we're really calm, really satisfied, then we can really see how things are moving, right? And that's like, it has to keep happening. It's not just as formal practice, you sit down for an hour a day and then you're done for the rest of the day. We have to keep coming back to it. Formal practice is great. I used to do like a lot of dry noting, but it wasn't as fulfilling as this is each moment. It was torturous 2-3 hour sittings and just like noting this, noting that. Okay, yeah, exactly. But now I have to admit, I rarely do any more formal sittings, because this is just so good. It's so good as you build this skill and you keep waking up each moment. It's just really juicy. Yeah. And that's what we're kind of practicing here. It's less of that like I need, like as you expressed even, Jamie, I feel like in the evening I need to call, I always need to do something. Instead of, we can take that and we can actually relax. I can just sit back, relax, maybe watch a video if that helps me relax. That was my thing for the longest time. Videos would be like really good to bring me back into that present moment of breath and gladdening the mind. It's all repetition. It doesn't matter how you get into repetition. At first, we have to really listen to it and really get it in motion by repeating by somebody, maybe even by somebody else, and then eventually we start doing it ourselves.
What is really the beginning point for you? What is your thing that really takes you into the present moment, and how does it work for you? You know, it's I mean, we are constantly changing, and the environment is constantly changing. So how do you find what is really working for you? You're not really looking at just what is in front of you. You're looking at the patterns emerging over time if you're looking always in the present moment in front of you. And then you see, this is my brain doing when this and this happens, and this is my body doing when this and this happens. Interesting. Okay, I can use that. And so you're seeing those little hints what could be. And this is very, very comforting, and this gives you the power to move on and to be confident in your practice and so on, even if you don't see it right now. Just find what is good for you in this moment to make it more satisfactory, and then things will fall into place. Of course, calling Dhammarato is probably a good idea.
How did you find the videos, Jimmy? Was it Guru Viking that did it?
I used to hang out a lot on like Reddit stream entry, and there was like a few years ago there was a lot of like Dhammarato activity on there from the various students. And at the time I was like quite deep into reading the suttas. I was quite into like Thanisaru Bhikkhu. And I was, you know, it was weird because I was like, oh, you know, I think the Buddha had a revelatory experience of like future lives, past lives. I think he saw, you know, the wheel of samsara and rebirth, and that seems to be very kind of like clear in the suttas. It's very like a point is hammered home, at least in translation. So I was, I suppose, starting to take quite an otherworldly approach to the Dhamma, where I was like, oh, you know, like I need to get enlightened in this lifetime to avoid being reborn again and again and again. And that was quite like, it's quite an oppressive sort of view to take. It's quite like it's like hell, you know. It's like I need to like pray for my sins. I need to like get out of this.
Make a donation.
Yeah, literally. And it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the time scale of things was, but when I first heard about Dhammarato and he was taking a very like the Buddha didn't teach rebirth, that sort of attitude, I was very skeptical. I was like, oh well, I've read the suttas and you know he says these things, and I guess it's for that reason I was a bit like whatever to this guy Dhammarato. But over time I became a lot less sort of wedded to this concept of rebirth. I thought, you know, even if the Buddha had an experience of seeing different births in different realms, like you could take DMT or have an experience like that. It doesn't make it true. So for that reason, I became very skeptical of this whole metaphysical attitude. And then more recently, I've kind of come across Dhammarato's videos and I'm like, well, this is great. You know, this is like totally focused, and Buddhadasa as well, totally focused on like right now, the present moment. What we know to be real and true is right now, and what is good can be found right now, rather than this kind of constant looking at the future and like, oh, you know, when am I gonna get like fully enlightened? How do I do it? Can I do it?
Can I suggest something? It's not even necessary to judge it in this dualistic way, because I heard Dhammarato when he was talking with Steve from Guru Viking and Daniel Ingram saying something to Daniel when he constantly came back to what we call the magical Dhamma, the mundane Dhamma. He came back to it and back to it and back to it. And he said, Dhammarato said something in the, even if there is some truth to those magical aspects, however this manifests, it doesn't really matter, because you have to let it go anyway, you know, to get complete liberation. And that's a much more wholesome approach if you think about it, because this is what we are all about. We're about dukkha nirodha. And so,
but in present moment, those things are arising in present moment. Thinking about them arises in present moment. So you know it's something not tangible in the, as we call, reality in right now. It's reading suttas is great, but we talked a lot about translation of suttas. You really have to understand Pali, right, to be able to distinguish which words meant what back in the day. A lot of it is like, seems to me, like from my discoveries, is a lot of mistranslation. Not mistranslation. They did like the job they could do the best with what they were given. but the language barrier is a big one, as far as like what we understand as Westerners. And the Buddhism in the West is really been mistranslated, it almost feels like, and mistreated as well.
Exactly, yeah, mistranslated and mistreated. If you look at who was translating it, I mean, the most commentaries and so on were translated by mostly like how do you call this in English? Like scholars. And so they really had no real idea what they're talking about. They were just spinning the wheel, so to say, in their mind.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess like with the rebirth stuff, it is definitely kind of in Asian countries, there's definitely a prevalent belief that, like, you know, I need to make merit for future lifetimes. So this is quite an orthodox interpretation, even in those countries.
Yeah,
a Japanese woman and her husband walked by the window I'm sitting here, and she looked at me like this, looked at me, looked at this, and so on, and then I looked at her and made this, and she was like, oh, very, very serious and bowing and so on. And I mean, you know, this is the thing with the magical stuff. You assume something without really knowing what you're actually looking at, you know. So you stay in contact, and if you stay in contact and everything emerges from this by itself, you don't have to really do anything, just keep the correct practice. Sorry, okay, I'm done.
It's quite interesting about the rebirth stuff, as we are being reborn each moment. Ourselves, everything about us is being reborn in each moment. And I think that's where the mistranslation comes in. And as we know, there's like a couple of understanding of Dhammas. There's the I'm not really good at this, but there's like mundane Dhamma, right? There's magical thinking Dhamma, which is most prevalent in the West right now. I think is magical Dhamma, right? Like there's multiple lives. There's you have to end all suffering. You have to get enlightened. There's always somewhere to get to. It's a learned behavior from the culture. And as far as like rebirth stuff goes, you're being reborn each moment, and if you're able to clear all the smoke and all the future and past lives of each moment that you're deluding yourself with, you can really look what's actually going on. And in that moment, it doesn't seem so important. Is there a past life or is there a future life? In that moment, everything kind of uncovers itself. But that's just from my seeing as the moment arises in the now. And yeah, that's how I kind of got to understand the rebirth, the past lives, the future lives. It seems to be more of states, as we talked about, states of hell, states of heaven. It's more like a mind thing. Are you in hell right now? Are you really dissatisfied with how things are going, of how your life is going, or are you actually in heaven? Are you feeling safe, secure, like everything is okay? That's as far as I go into that kind of like future, past. It doesn't really hit you in the present. It only hits you once you tune into that Western kind of trying to figure things out. I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm trying not to be reborn into the next life. I'm trying not to be reborn into the hell in the previous moment, in the future moment. I'm trying my best to get out of it. But where does that all trying come out of? That's what kind of needs investigation. Where does the trying come from? What starts the trying? Why are we even trying? You know, I think those are the things that are really good to investigate as if you're being nice and calm, because if you're not calm, then those things are gonna be piling up, more logical solutions, more this is that, this is this, I'll read this, I'll watch this video, maybe I'll answer that. But none of that ever hits the spot as much as the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
No, yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Like, it's funny. I feel like I came across Buddhism when I was quite young, and probably my interpretation of the whole rebirth thing at that stage was more like that. You know, you can see like, oh, I do take birth all the time in terms of like, oh, I've just adopted an identity and now I have to have a certain territory I need to protect. I have a certain clan. I have certain enemies, you know, and then you keep doing this like again and again with like the guy in the bus queue or something, you know. But then I suppose in a search of like more authentic, like, oh, how can I get to what is Buddhism really about? What's the original message? And then kind of got myself into this magical thinking, and it definitely was kind of magical thinking, and you know, then there was a massive tension in my brain between the sort of skeptical part that was like, well, how do we know any of this? And the other part, which was like, if this is true, we really need to do something about it. And then that kind of war going on. But yeah, I think it's a lot more pragmatic to just look in this present moment at what you can see now and work with that, rather than, you know, having these interminable debates.
I'm astonished again and again, really. I mean, this practice and the way it encrypts or decrypts all this. I mean, the Dhamma is really everything and anything there is, you know. And when those moments arise where certain clarity comes about through the conditions of the real right practice, and being confronted with everything that is inside of us and around us, and that it isn't like directly connected, it's just conditioning each other. I heard Dhammarato saying something like, there you have a dirty car, and you have the car and you have the dirt, and here's the dirt and here's the car. There is space between them, but we call it the dirty car, you know. And this is exactly what we're doing all the time. We're taking things to be causal, and they're just conditioning each other. It's a totally different way to look at things. And if you can experience this opens up the possibility to change whatever you want to change. This is amazing. I mean, this means you can change every aspect of reality as you please. And so this whole noble wisdom aspect comes in to really dig into the right seeds you're developing, you're planting, or you're sowing on your field, you know. Because if you don't watch this, you're getting a field full of crops you didn't intend to harvest.
There is a lot of like, as far as going back to the magical thinking, I'm thinking there's a lot of craving for that. There's a lot of wanting to feel this special feeling, right? Like, I know, and this uncommon person doesn't know, or I had this experience and this person will never understand what I just went through. And that's a beautiful thing, because that is for you to keep. It's even if you do have some magical moments, I think we all had magical, beautiful moments where everything was so clear, or we'd taken something and we had this experience. that is happening in the present moment. It is not happening as far as like in the future or the past, or it hasn't happened before, or what if. Those are all just the self-deluding tools for the future conditioning of confusion. It's keeping oneself confused in all of these things, instead of really getting to the fruit, really getting back to it. It's actually keeping you further away from the magical experiences than re-experiencing them as you delude yourself, if we look at this way.
Yeah, it's a delusion process, right? Yeah.
And even what is a magical experience, right? What is the difference between you dreaming and you sleeping? What is the difference between you being awake and sleeping?
I always
There's that thin barrier that we delude ourselves with, right?
Yeah. I always think of it as the trainers of the race car drivers explains it to them, that they say if they are new to the sport, it's like, if you really don't want to crash into a car or put the car into something you don't want to crash into, you have to focus on where you want to go and not where you not want to go. So if I'm sitting in this car like 100 mph or something like this, I don't know how the calculation is made, because I'm German and we don't measure it that way. But you don't look to the side or to the other cars. You look where you want to go. People, we are not conditioned to do that. We are conditioned to look at the dukkha, look at the dukkha, look at the dukkha, look at the dukkha, look, we're doing wrong, and we should be ashamed of it, and things like this.
Looking at it but not changing it. That's the and doing nothing about it. Well, actually thinking we're doing something about it by trying to change things physically or in the future or in the past, but never in the present moment. I'll fix this later. I'll do this later, or I'll think about it later. I'll just distract myself with something. I'll go do this. Yeah, Dhamma, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very attached. There's a very, very strong attachment mechanism going on, wanting and 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 wanting. And if you want to be in a different state than you are, that's some kind of dukkha. And even joy. I mean, Carl talked about the special magical moments. As I started socializing again just a couple months ago. I lived almost 7 years completely secluded before this, and really lived as a monk in the world, just doing my thing and not really socializing with anyone, just practicing and practicing and practicing. And now as I come back to it, it's like it's the same thing. It's like I never did anything in between, something different. It's like it's exactly the same routine. But now I have this little, let's say, this little flame or this little lamp inside that always starts to flicker if I see those patterns. And it's like, oh, this is why people are so uncomfortable with their existence. And it's really I'm looking at it right now inside myself, and I'm looking at it, and it's just like, you just want to hug it. You just want to hug it and be very, very gentle with it, and say it's okay. This arises and this passes away again, and so on. And it's sometimes very, very difficult for us to step out of this mechanism that everything that is dark is a problem, and that we immediately have to do something about it. And so we're piling up on darkness, and more and more and more, you know.
Nurturing, right? And how do we nurture ourselves, right? What do we use to nurture ourselves? We can either nurture ourselves with external things, or we can find that nurturing from more fulfilling, as you said, like little fire. We can warm ourselves with that little fire from the inside, and we can kindle to that fire by putting in, actually not trying to put it out with like some darkness or like some shit. Or I mean, shit burns pretty well if it's dry, right? But we can put something better than shit. We can put something,
Oh my God.
Yes, we can put something more of a better fuel, I guess, right? And another thing is Sangha. I think one thing I didn't really understand is you said you were like really secluded. For me, same. I used to think like, I'll do this by myself. This is for me to figure this out. Like I always lived by myself. I'm strong, la la la. And then you come to this like understanding that, wow, Sangha is actually like also really a beautiful thing. It's really nurturing to have, because it can feel very isolating if nobody seems to understand anything about Dhamma around you, or they're very, very focused on the world. But then you see other individuals as understanding as you, and it's just, wow, that fire gets even brighter and brighter, right?
That's a very, very crucial, beautiful aspect. That's almost that's almost ridiculous that it is so hard to grasp. You know, I mean, in the beginning, I was so full of criticism and of like, you know, dissecting every thought. Is safe? Is this not safe? You can't just talk about those things on the internet for everyone to see. What if your boss sees that or something like this, you know? But as you progress in this and really see the fruits of it again and again, your system starts to change, and you see that this openness and this almost, you know, don't be stupid, but this almost unconditional openness is a necessity in the end, if you really want to go through with this, because you have to deal with your insecurities, and this means you have to deal with the insecurities of the society too, because they're inside of you.
Yeah, that openness is something really beautiful. It becomes really like your strength, instead of turning into your weakness. Like most people are hiding their weakness, they're hiding their openness, they're always putting on a face, putting on a mask. We can turn in and say, hey, I don't need no mask. Look at me. I'm a fucking lion, right? I can handle it. I can really, really handle pretty much anything, even dying. And that's what we're preparing for. That's
the inside
the main thing.
Cried like a baby.
Mm.
I really did, because it's one thing to think about doing things and thinking about making the practice real in your life, and another thing to sit in front of other people, really seeing those suppressed emotions over years, suppressed emotions coming up, and saying like, sorry bro, I'm here, deal with it, better you with it now or it's going to crush you. And if you don't die, you don't die. That's that simple. And we always, you have a panic attack, you think you're dying, but you're not dying. You're just not. That's the thing we don't really appreciate, let's say. If you can appreciate this, if you can appreciate, let's say, like Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche says it, like this, his panic attacks when he was a child, and he did 3-year retreats and things like this, you know. You get deep into your panic. You get very, very deeply in contact with all those places. And if you can make them, befriend them, and even like be gentle to them, it's weird. It works. It works. It really does. But it doesn't work if you're not committed to go the full way. And you will always regress again, and it comes again and it comes again. I mean, it comes again whatever you do. But if you go really full into it, you have a very good chance of succeeding in a way that is not possible if you just do it half. How do you say, like half-wit or something?
Half-heartedly.
Half-ass.
Half-heartedly, right? Yeah. Half.
Or half-ass.
Yeah, but that's the confidence of having in the Dhamma, right? As you practice, you begin to build this tremendous confidence in the Dhamma, and then you can come to Sangha and you can build that confidence even further. And then when you go out into the world, you know the Dhamma. You know you can really put it to practice when you really need it the most. You know you can wake up when you really need it the most. And that's really powerful.
Just before you do something you really, really are gonna regret, you can wake up and be like,
that's when you need to wake up the most.
Nah.
This can be an antidote. Yeah. Yeah. How long are we in now?
46 minutes, I believe.
6 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have a talk with even without Dhammarato from time to time. Even though, yeah, company, I find like
taking the time.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling of having like we usually like just chat and then the Skype as well as like texting without like these calls. That's super helpful as well, like participating in the Skype. But calling is like another thing. We can all experience it in immediate reality right now.
I mean, we have the opportunity. Everyone has the opportunity to join the Discord hangout, but I'm always looking at it, and there's no one on there. I mean, I saw in the last house, 2 people or 3 people. This would
I think it's more American
great
times, isn't it?
Yeah, this could be a reason too.
Yeah. Excellent
it's really
talk, I think.
Interesting what you said about you know, you spend a lot of time in seclusion kind of developing your practice, and then you go and having not socialized for a long time, you find all the patterns are there just waiting to be activated by that context. You're like, oh, okay, suddenly now there's somebody very attractive over there and I have to like not you know, make a fool of myself, and you've got all of this going on, which is just, I guess, you know, this idea of like doing relational practice where you are actually with other people, because then you're activating those parts of your mind and you're seeing what comes up. You're seeing like the conditioning that arises.
Going to the market. Yeah, I mean, this is everything we're doing is an art. It's about balance. And for me personally, it's really like, how can I connect with the most basic noble wisdom in every situation, you know? And this would be a thought of tremendous benefit for the context of the situation in every aspect. And mostly it's really like something like maybe slowing down everything. For example, something like this, you know, like how can I provide this situation with the most mindfulness, slowing down, you know? Can you do this while everything inside your body is saying, you have to do this now, do this now, do this now, now. Really engaging with this in a very gentle way, and really practicing it, really doing it, slowing everything down right now. That's the thing, if you want to be social, you have to socialize. If you want to be slow, you have to be slower than you normally do things, and so on and so on and so on. And yeah, I think with people and with all the mixture that is provided to us through our life experience, we get everything we need. We don't need those. We don't necessarily need those structures around it, because if you have the noble Dhamma, you have enough cues, let's say, to do it perfectly, if you just let things unfold naturally. And so it's a balance, it's a balance between structured approach, natural approach, structured approach, natural approach.
Yeah, I guess going back to what you said earlier, about kind of, you're watching the video and maybe the thought comes up like, oh, I should be practicing right now. I should like sit and do some meditation. And then there's another thought like, oh, I want to watch a video. And there's this kind of back and forth. Like the first step to anything would be to stop doing that. You have to at least stop doing that. And then, like you're just sitting there and you're waiting maybe, like just slowing everything down so that it's no longer like a fast-paced battle. But you're like, oh, okay, now I'm actually just sitting here and maybe I'm watching the video, or maybe the video's paused. I just sit here for a few moments and then I don't know, maybe something will happen. Maybe I'll then go and meditate. Or maybe I won't.
That's beautiful. You just explained like pretty much the practice. We stop that, and we know how to stop that now by just putting the skills to use. We tune back into our breath, and then we really look what's going on in our heads. Through the breath, we can sit down, relax, and put ourselves into a good state. And congratulations, you're actually meditating in that moment. You don't need to go sit and close your eyes and get into a posture in order to meditate. You can do it while washing dishes. You can do it while sitting in the balcony. You can do it whenever you really want to do it. Maybe not when you're driving, because that requires you to actually pinpoint, but even that can be quite meditative too. Depends what level of absorption you're really going for. But it seems like you really understand the key ingredient is stopping that dialogue within and actually looking at it and looking what's going on, and then bringing that to a pause. We can really see what we really kind of are in the moment. It's an experiential thing, isn't it? It's truly, and language cannot really like put it into a thing.
But there's also the like, I like the idea of you kind of building a rhythm, so you actually start to speak the wholesome things in your head like in a kind of like rhythmic way. Sometimes it's a little bit like Dhammarato's in your head and he's saying like,
yep,
I'm okay right now, I'm fine. And you
no
kind of
alligators.
like, yeah.
There's gonna be like little phrases that you can even get from the videos. Like this one time I saw an advertisement and it says "wakey wakey," and then you just cannot help but to wake up in that moment. If you program yourself enough to wake up, when you see "wakey wakey," you're gonna wake up every damn time. And that's what we're doing. We use the breath to really program ourselves to wake up. Each moment we remember to take a breath, we wake up.
there is a sheet of wholesome thoughts in the. Is it in the Discord or where is it? Do you remember, Carl? It's in the Discord, right?
I think it's in the Discord. Yeah.
It's wholesome thoughts. It's from the Dhamma dudes, I think, or is it on the Dhammarato page? I don't know. I don't really remember, but
Oh yeah, I see it.
yeah, wholesome thoughts. I mean, you can pick whatever gives the wholesome state to you. Grass grows by itself.
Oh, I would just remember the good thing to. I really found this explanation really. When the spring comes, the grass grows by itself, and that kind of like nails the practice for me. You know, when you're really relaxed, when the spring comes, the grass grows, and that kind of gives you the full on answer if if you see it. You know, I really like that one. That's like a wholesome thought to have as well, right? Things will happen as they happen if I just allow them to happen, instead of really having to have the dialogue. I want to watch the video, I want to meditate, I want to do this. You just put yourself into that mode. Hey, spring will arise, grass will grow.
Boom. Thing is, right, this is something I feel and I practice a lot of with it, is this communication thing. You know, we're not just sending messages to each other, decrypting, encrypting, and so on. We try to really understand each other, let's say, or ourselves. So it's not just about information, like cold information or something like this. It's about really getting a visceral, holistic grasp of what this life experience is all about in every aspect. And so you can zoom in, but you're not letting the periphery out of context. You can zoom out, and you're not letting the small. Oh yeah, he's frozen, right?
He's back. He's coming back.
I heard everything. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like you know, you can zoom in, but you haven't forgotten, you know, your mental state, your body. You know, you've got the whole awareness sort of in your grasp, and then also you can zoom out, and you're not like spacing out completely where your attention is sort of vanished. Yeah, I like that.
Chuladasa, do you know Chuladasa?
Yeah, I started meditating with the Mind Illuminated. That's when I first picked up a practice.
Yeah,
it's a terrible practice for me because I was way too goal focused, and like I could not, like, it was just like I was just like, oh, God damn it, I was only stage 4 this session. Oh. And I'm like really just creating so much suffering for myself from just kind of like, and just being, it feels like you're in a little you're going to work and you have to, like, you know, strive to like attain like the best you can for this session. I think, you know, for some people it clearly works really well, but I have not developed my equanimity to a stage where I can do that practice very well.
It's too concentrated for you, if I understand correctly. It's just not your cup of tea.
Like I did really like it. I feel like I've reached a certain like plateau around stage 4 or 5. But and I felt like the practice got too rote. You know, like it got to, like, it's a routine, it's a habit, but it's not. It's quite a hollow habit. I wasn't fully, like, you know, you kind of get stuck in a world full of like cardboard cutouts of like, it's like these are signs of progress and these are signs of failure, and I'm just spending my time being like, oh, signs of progress, oh, signs of failure, and like
you're using unwholesome things to go a path with steps and so on that is claiming to take you to liberation, but as you practice it, you're practicing with the Western mentality and the Western conditioning mind, so it's not working. It's a paradox.
Yeah.
I wanted to say is, but there's a lot of wisdom in it, you know. And if you really can understand even the little note, the little notes on the side, the little sentences he puts in there and there and there, makes an exclamation mark. But people are not really putting this into practice because they forget this. If he's saying like, don't push too hard, don't do this and this. I mean, he's saying this in his book, but you're not. So it leads to unwholesomeness. What I wanted to say is he defines mindfulness as the perfect ratio between focused attention and peripheral awareness. And if you translate this formula, let's say, onto whatever variable you use in your life, that's a very good thing, you know, because you always have this peripheral thing going on, and you have whatever focus you attend your mind to, but you first have to develop the skills. Your mind has to be collected enough to do this, you know. If you're not collected enough in your whole experience to direct your mind to whatever task is in front of you, you're going to get dukkha, you know.
Doesn't that go back to what we're practicing here? And the peripheral vision, it sounds like jhana states, right? We're talking about getting mind fit for work. How do we get the mind fit for work? We really have to be relaxed. We really have to relax into it. If you look into your eyes, you can focus on one object. But if you relax and just allow everything to flow, that's all it is. It's just relaxing the mind, getting into a nice, comfortable state. And from there, you can potentially do the work. And that's what it is. I have no idea what you guys are talking about as far as like, I'm assuming it's some kind of meditation teaching, right? But that's what it sounds like. It all translates back to what we're practicing here as well, right? So now we can go back to it with the same attitude. And even Jamie, you said you don't have equanimity. Well, equanimity doesn't sound like something to have. It's something that happens when you're really relaxed. It just arises within you.
Yeah, you put down
that's all it sounds to me like.
It naturally happens, and you can even do this if you're in motion someday. Yes. You know, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just there. I mean, this is the duality that is was mostly confusing for me in the beginning, because I always had this, what you described, you know, this one part of the mind says this, one part of the mind says this, and you're trapped in the middle, like, what is going on here? He says this, well, what is true now? And if you keep on with the practice, you will see that sometimes you need something in the outside, like a quiet room, to really get into seclusion and get the whole system just settled down. And this is very, very helpful. And sometimes you have experience like, whoa, I'm in the middle of a heavy metal concert, and it's just, everything is just flowing through, you know. There is no how do you say, like, if someone is bugging you with something you don't like, and he's bugging you and bugging you and bugging you, you know, it's like molestation or something like this, you know. You're feeling molested. Like death is a molestation for my ego, because my ego is forever.
Anyone else have anything to say? I think this is a good point to kind of end off, unless somebody wants to say something else. Yeah, my phone is dying and I'm recording, so I'm kind of all out of the
Thanks,
juice
guys.
as well.
Nice to see you all.
Yeah, really nice to meet you two guys. It was a really good talk. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope to see you around, Jamie. Yeah, definitely. If you're able, give Dhammarato a call, or you can always join us here at Sangha on maybe next Sunday. We even have Sangha calls on Wednesday as well in the evening, UK time. Those are excellent as well. Yeah, we get more into suttas. We talk about different things. Yeah, but it all leads to the same thing, Dhamma. Yeah. Cool. Glad to see you guys. Glad to see you, Veda. See you guys.
Cool. Awesome. See ya.
Bye-bye.